Hello everybody. 2 weeks ago I got myself a new peripheral and that was the Velocity One Yoke. I've not had much playing time with it, but I thought maybe a little update and show you all the settings that I've picked and maybe let you know how I'm getting on. So without further ado, let's step in. So here we are. I'll take you into my control settings. Now I did have this on a previous video that I'll have linked up in the top right hand corner, but I'm going to walk through them slowly for you. So I did have the Hotas One previously, and that's what I used to fly with, apart from my little controller. So what I did with that is because I like to use my rudders, but I've still kept all the profiles that I used to use, but I've made this new one, and all it has got is the rudder axis, which will let me use my pedals back and forth, as so, and the brakes. Toe brakes down, toe brakes down. So that takes everything else away from that controller out of the equation. So if I'd hit another button, it wouldn't interfere or anything. So that's what I like to use for my rudders. So for that reason, I've not got any rudder pedals on my actual Velocity One. So here we go, we've got a Velocity One here. So what I'll do is I'll collapse them all back down again. And we'll run through them one by one. So I've got a profile that I've called Basic. I've got a profile that I've called Twin Turbos. And I've got a profile called Turbo. And the reason for that is because while I was looking at many different videos online, I liked the idea of some recommendations and I liked the ideas of others. So I wanted to amalgamate the two and do a different both. So for the turbo, like the ones that for the Grand Caravan and all that, I've been using the top part of the throttle quadrant. And for anything like my wee Cessnas, I've been using the bottom bit, which is the wee pull out levers. I hope that all makes sense. So what I'll do is I'll show you the basic one first. Okay, so we'll run down top to bottom because it's probably easier to do it that way than it is to do it any other way. So for the camera settings here, I like to have my free look on my left hand with my POV one, because what I've been trying to practice to do is, see when you're flying a real aircraft, you've got one hand on the yoke and you've got one hand on the throttle. I've been trying my hardest to stick to that method and sticking on the thing. So having the free look button on my POV1 has been helping immensely, because I don't need to quickly look out my window. I can sort of zoom around a wee bit with that stick, and it's quite handy with that wee thumb on that side. So for that reason, I've put my quick view on the POV2. And because I don't use up and down, I'm going to use the next pilot position, which is down, previous, and up. So that while I'm in the sim, that gets me into my instrument things, which is fine. And then to reset my cockpit view, I've got the button B2 on the right hand side. I'll show you wee pictures as I go along. That one there will reset my cockpit. I'll also, like what you can see at the bottom there, reset my external view at the same time. It's just so I've got the same button for resetting both. So while I'm out on chase cam, I'm going to use my left POV just to go left, right, up and down. I don't have free look out in external camera at the moment, or out in chase cam as we call it. I'm still playing about with my settings and still trying to work out what's favourable to myself. But for the moment, this seems reasonable. So to get into my instrument views, that was the hat switch 1, so it's left and right. To get the next instrument, when we're in the instrument views, I do like it on that side of the button because it's quite easy to work out. And to get into cockpit and external mode and to chase cam and everything, I have a wee button and it's B4 on the throttle quadrant that takes me, and I've got a wee label on it saying EXT, which is shown in the video, and that will make me go into chase cam. So there's my camera settings. Main menu. The only thing I've got set up is pause, and that is this little line button that I like to use. That's the same as what's on an Xbox controller, down to the right of the main button. I'll show you that again in the picture, but that's the one I like to have my pause. I had the same button on my Hotas, so I like to keep that button as well. For the Miscellaneous, it's the other button beside it, which will show me on this stage, it will show me that as well, but that'll take my nameplates on and off. And the reason I chose that bit there is because it's handy with while I'm controlling my yoke with my left hand, it's handy to press that button back and forth to get the nameplate shown wherever needed. Okay, so my next one for this one then is all the usual, which is, the heading bug. I use my hat switch too for that, because I do like that reason of moving the heading bug around to a specific course. Because see, when you're in flight and you've got autopilot on, that is very, 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 very handy. So I did pick up on that. I've used that as my left and right, as you can see. And then obviously all the flight controls are going to be the same for everybody else, which is obviously the pull back on the elevator, the ailerons, back and forth, which is fine. The trimming wheel, which is up and down, which is fine. And then what I've got is, I'll just zoom these two down, is my flaps. And my flaps are actually on my hat switch 1, which is up and down. I like that because I know that's where they are. So far my hat switch is my flaps up and down, and my 2 buttons for the instrument views, left and right. Okay, so that's all that. So lights, at the moment, what I've got is what I'll show you the wee picture again, is I've got wee buttons on the throttle quadrant all matched up out for my lights. It's just to get a quick, easy way of switching them on. So I've got one for taxi lights, one for landing lights, and one for beacon lights. I haven't got the strobe lights on as yet. I don't know whether I'll be making a button for the strobe lights. I might use one of my triggers, I don't know. But at the moment, I've just got them wee four at that wee corner, because that's just the basics. And I do like to have my parking brake over beside them, which you'll see in a wee second. So that's my lights. Then my brakes, which is just what I just told you a second ago. PB beside it was my parking brakes. I may decide to move that across to this other panel. I'm not sure. But I'm still configuring. I'm still finding my own wee settings here. So at the moment, this will do. Autopilot. Right, so my thoughts here was, see when I'm putting on autopilot, I like, see when you see people flying in real life and they're talking to ATC and they're holding a button on their yoke. One of the triggers, or the button at the side of the yoke, if the sim in 2024 ever gets that far, you need to press it and you can talk to ATC. I don't think it'll happen for the Xbox people, but if it did, one of them triggers is going to be that. But at the moment, my autopilot button is just going to be that little, is it B1 button? It's nice and handy to switch the autopilot on, especially when you're manually controlling the yoke, the left and right ailerons. Then I've got the putting into heading mode. which is the wee button here down in my wee panel, which I'll show you as well wherever on the screen. Put that onto heading mode, and I've got one for nav mode because right now nav and heading are the main two I use in Autopilot. I don't really tend to use much else at the moment, so I'm just keeping them just now until I figure out what else I want to be. There's so many buttons on this thing, it's unreal. I don't know what I want where. So all this normal axis, which is all these ones here, which is your throttle, your mixture, and your propeller. And like I said, that's all the axis of the wee pull levers that I've got for each of these. This is for my basic one. So that's nice and easy. And then landing gear. Landing gear I liked on the right hand side. For some reason it's the same sort of button as what I used to roughly use on my right hand side for on my Hotas One. So I can't remember, I'm just having a wee look at my Hotas at the moment. I think it was a wee button at the side there. I was using the right hand side for my landing gear, but I'll use this button here, the toggle switch, at the moment for my landing gear. That's what I like. I don't like to go over to the throttle quadrant for it. I like it being nice and handy on the yoke itself. So that's where I'll have the landing gear. So that's my little basic one. It's nice and simple, as you can see. There might be more to add to it, I don't know. But that was the basis of doing the rest of them. So I think the only thing I changed on each of these, if it loads, is I'll zoom all these down because all this was the same. Instrument view was the same. The only bit that I changed was what kind of throttle manoeuvres I'm going to be using. And that would be, let's zoom all these down. Sorry about this. I'll just do it this way. It's much easier, which is this one here. And added in the condition lever, which is the little red one, because you don't have mixture in these some ways. So these are the top controls I'm using. I like that method as well, which is quite good. And when it comes to doing flying my ATRs, I think I'll be using these top ones here as well. I might have one for feather engine 1, one for feather engine 2. I don't know, I've not figured that out yet, but I'll get there. My throttle is going to be that one as well, which is up and down. I've yet to try flying with these ones yet, with a twin turbo aircraft, but I've also got the cut down button set, which will put my reversers and things in, which I do quite like. You might have seen these. There's loads of nice YouTubers out there that's taught me all these reasons. So it's the same with the propeller, bringing the prop and cutting the prop out as well. But that all looks good. And then the turbo was just the same, I think, but without the reverse axis. No, it's got the reverse axis. What else have I added in here? Was this my old one? Oh no, this is what it is. The twin was the two propellers, throttle 1 and throttle 2 put together. This is just throttle 1 for a normal one, which is this going up and down. So I possibly could have just kept the two together, but I'll keep them separate. This is just for a normal single engine turbo aircraft. Be using that, so hope you all enjoy that settings and everything there. As to flying and how I'm getting on, I'll show you a wee quick videos here of me flying manually recently in the sim, and that was using this yoke at that time. So using the aileron thing and the elevator, it was not too bad. I do get the movement on that, not so good, so been okay. But yeah, I haven't had a lot of practice on it, to be honest, to see what my final thoughts are. So possibly we'll have, maybe in a 6 month time, maybe we'll review the settings again, who knows. But until then, I'll see you all again soon. Cheerio!